The Massacre at St. Andrew's Hospital, Part 12. He's close. The broadcast resumes with no pause, and Diane does not sit down. Her voice lower and tighter as she looks toward the control room before turning back to Paul. She asks him directly what this man would do if he knew where they were, no longer questioning if, but when. Paul doesn't hesitate. He would come inside. A brief silence follows as something shifts behind the cameras. Subtle at first, a movement, a voice raised just slightly out of frame. Diane's attention flicks toward it, just for a second, then back to Paul, trying to hold the structure together. She asks how he can be so certain. Because he doesn't wait, Paul says quietly. A pause. He finishes things. The words land hard as the noise behind the cameras grows, no longer subtle. A staff member stepping partially into view, speaking urgently to someone off screen. Diane's composure cracks slightly as she turns fully now, breaking from the interview for the first time. What's going on? No one answers her directly. The tension in the room shifts. Paul watches. Diane looks back at him, trying to regain control, but her voice has changed. She asks him if this man has ever come back before, after something like this, after a mistake. Paul nods slowly. Yes. A pause. He corrects it himself. Silence. Diane presses, asking what that means, but before Paul can answer, another voice cuts in from off-camera, louder this time. Security has been called to the building. There is movement in the lobby. Diane turns again. Security for what? A staff member steps closer now, speaking quickly, quietly, but enough is heard. Someone's inside. The room tightens instantly. Diane stares toward the control room, her composure slipping as the reality begins to set in. She turns back to Paul. Do you know anything about this? Paul doesn't answer immediately. Then, he's early. Silence drops hard across the studio. Commercial break. The cut is abrupt, almost forced, as bright music fills the screen too quickly. A corporate security ad plays, showing controlled environments, monitored entrances, guards watching screens. Everything looks safe, contained. We protect what matters most. The image cuts to a security monitor, showing a building entrance. The door opens slightly, but no one is visible entering. The feed lingers for a moment longer than it should, then cuts to black. The broadcast returns, but the studio is no longer still. Movement visible behind Diane now, staff crossing quickly, voices low but urgent. Diane remains standing, her posture rigid as she tries to continue, but her focus is divided. She asks Paul if he thinks this is connected. Paul nods. Yes. A pause. He doesn't send warnings twice. The words land as Diane looks again toward the control room, where more voices overlap now, confusion building. Someone mentions cameras. Someone mentions a blind spot. Diane turns back slowly. What kind of blind spot? Paul answers quietly. The kind he uses. Silence. Diane's composure breaks just enough to show it now. She asks if this man avoids cameras, avoids being seen. Paul shakes his head. No. A pause. He chooses when to be seen. The implication settles heavily. Diane looks toward the cameras in the studio, then toward the darker spaces beyond them. The building no longer feels secure. Paul leans forward slightly. He's already inside. Silence. Heavy. Immediate. The red light continues to blink, but now it feels like a beacon.